Wah, wah, wah.
Okay, we're here today with the Let Me Hear Your Voice podcast. We're with speech pathologist Miss Kim and mother advocate Mama Wit as we discuss the ins and outs of speech therapy, children with special needs, and all of the life and love in between appointments and progress. So, welcome, Miss Kim.
Hello, thank you.
Thank you. Today we have a pretty big topic. It's kind of a highly debatable and however very important. So today we're going to talk about masks, and Kim, I'm going to let you lead the way.
Okay. Yeah, the whole mask thing with trying to help children learn to communicate has been a tricky thing to navigate. I just want to start off by saying that today we're going to talk specifically about our experience together and our decision on how to move forward with whether or not we use a mask in therapy. But just before we get into that, I just want to say that all of my families are in different places. And for whatever reason, you're, there's your reasons are your own, and there's absolutely no judgment, and there's full acceptance wherever we're at. Some of my families I still continue to do virtual sessions with, and it works very well. Some of my families I still use a plexiglass divider with. Some of my families I wear a mask and or their child wears a mask. And some of my families we opt completely out of wearing masks. So all of that is great and fully respected. And yeah.
A phrase that I really like to use right now is that we are all in the same storm, however, we are all in a different boat. So I like that you're really paying attention to the individual, their needs, and also the concerns of their family.
Thank you, Whitney. I like that analogy. That's a good one. I need to use that. I will say that where I was going with this is I'm not sure. I just basically wanted to recognize and respect where everybody is at. But today we're going to talk about our situation together. So, me doing therapy with Ezra and our decision to opt to not wear a mask for therapy. I know what I was going to say before. As a communication specialist, I'm teaching individuals how to communicate, and I'm teaching their children and parents, grandparents, siblings how to successfully communicate with one another to the best of everyone's ability. In doing that, at the end of the day, the best case scenario for therapy is being in person, face to face, with absolutely no obstruction. When I'm thinking about working with a child, I need to be able to see their face to get the maximum effect, and they need to be able to see my face.
Yeah, you know, again, our situation is with autism and all of its complexities, but we scrape for crumbs as it is. And, you know, when we don't pick up on those, their opportunities lost. And that's progress lost. And that's positive reinforcement that's lost due to some sort of obstruction. That's where, like, we know you and I and, our family made the decision not to wear one because it was important for us to get every little bitty piece and, try to really support Ezra fully.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at Ezra and his needs, he has a diagnosis of autism. And when we're looking at helping him, we're looking at that social component. That's a huge piece of it. And when we're talking about teaching social skills and gaining someone's attention, if we can't connect with our facial expressions and our body, nonverbal body language, and getting in each other's space to hold and maintain communication or to maintain attention to teach communication, that's going to affect, like you said, Whitney, progress. That's going to affect his overall development in that area. Now, I have some children who have great social skills, and it's okay if my face is covered because we're not working on social interactions, or maybe we're not working on speech sound development and they don't need to see my mouth. But if we're working on how to produce sounds, you need to see my mouth. If we're working on how to do a k, 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 if my face is covered, you can't see what's happening with my mouth. It makes it more difficult to explain and teach. And the same goes for social skills and understanding that nonverbal and abstract language.
So this isn't necessarily a proud moment, but I feel like it's worth mentioning regarding like the social aspect of it. Again, autism not just being like speech delayed, but definitely like social relationships. And during homeschool last week, I was frustrated with something, and then a couple minutes later, he got it, and he goes, "So, mom, you're not mad anymore." And I never said that I was angry or upset or frustrated for that matter, but he could see it on my face again because there's no obstruction. But and he was also able to pick up on that cue. And again, while I would like to say that I'm patient and pleasant all the time, it's not the case. And I think that it's really important for Ezra to be able to recognize that. And in fact, I mean, it goes to show that he's progressing. Just noting that.
Great point. I mean, when we look at frustration or excitement or subtle things like being proud, this, I mean, those are subtle facial expressions. And when you cover half the face, you don't get that. And then you take an individual who has difficulty in the first place picking up on those nonverbal social cues or feelings, it's even that much more difficult. I was smiling at a friend. I had my mask on. I don't remember where we were, and I was smiling, and I'm like thinking, why? I was smiling at them, and they weren't smiling back at me, and I'm like, what is the deal? Like what? And I'm like, oh, I have my mask on. They don't know I'm smiling at them because they can't see. And another example of when I had my mask on, I said something to my daughter. I don't remember where we were at either with this, but I mouthed it. I like said, I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Like I said, I forgetting my mask was on. I go, like stop it or knock it off or whatever. And I realized, yeah, I'm doing that and she's not seeing anything that's happening because my mask is there. So moving into our therapy and our decision not to wear a mask in therapy, I think going back to the beginning, Whitney, when the pandemic started, that was back in what, March? I think it happened in March. It was like a right around spring break, and we had to start doing virtual right away. I mean, everything just stopped and shut down. And I feel like when we did virtual initially, I mean, it was kind of exciting. Ezra was pretty engaged. I even have a little video of teletherapy, like an example of us doing that I put out there. We had the balloon popping thing and everything was new. It's like, oh, we have these interactive games that we can do, but as time went on, his attention it started to be a little bit fleeting.
Oh, he definitely got squirrelier and squirrelier as, yeah. And again, like you said, the novelty had kind of worn off, and now he's having to sit here and do something that he doesn't want to do. Whereas, like in person, you guys have such a connection and an animation between the two of you. So,
Yeah.
while it was great for the time being, it certainly wasn't like proficient in helping him progress.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when he was getting a little wiggly and not wanting to, or he would even verbalize, oh, he would let us know that he didn't want to do it. And you were always sitting with him.
I'm all done. He
He-
would eventually say that too. I want
yeah.
it all done.
I'm like, I get it, and it was so hard because, when I see Ezra for therapy now, a lot of our therapy is me, if he's looking down at this, I got my phone here right here, but if he's looking down, let's say this is that whatever it is that he's interested in, I can get down, grab that item, bring it up, bring it to my face. He follows it. And then we have that joint attention facial expression, and we can have that connection. And then I have his attention and I can model whatever it is that I'm trying to help him to do. I can't do that through the computer.
Well, and I'll say too, again, we've been seeing you now for almost 2 years. And early on, we started that see see my eyes, see my mouth. So everything is directed back to the facial aspect of,
Yep.
communication. Again, because he's also missing that social piece, those
Right.
social norms that, come typically to others are a big struggle for him. And it's also super important in his overall development.
Absolutely. When he brings his face, his eye gaze up to our face and we're animated, like you said before, yeah. I mean, there's so much that he can get from that. And it maintains his attention. If I was just sitting here saying, okay, it's your turn, and not have all of that facial expression to keep him engaged.
Well, and specifically with Ezra, like that is again such a positive reinforcement to him, because like seeing that in you brings it out in him, and then he's excited even without having the verbal communication portion of it.
Right. So then, hence, we have that nonverbal communication. That's so important. So, Whitney, I can't remember, it was like 6 to 8 weeks of telehealth, and then we decided to go to in person. I can't remember. Was it like May or June? I don't remember when we started back.
I
It
think
was
it was
early.
May. I think it was in whenever people were able to go back to work,
Yeah.
non-essential, or however. Um, but as we kind of move into that, I do want to, we signed as soon as we came in. We signed a COVID waiver for you. We've been doing the hand sanitizer. Actually, just yesterday, I was with Wynn and we were at gymnastics washing our hands, and they know the song that you do for hand sanitizer, which is fronts, backs, and in betweens. Like the kids know it, and you've taken every precaution to make us feel safe, and we've mitigated interactions and all of those things. Again, Ezra's homeschooled, so there's not a ton of social interaction, which is actually very sad in a different way. So
Yeah. Yeah. But, we had thank you for bringing up that we signed a COVID release form, and that went both ways too. So if, there was a situation where I knew my daughter was exposed, and so I had to as part of that waiver, my daughter's been, no, we know she's been exposed. So we're going to go back to virtual, which is until we pass that window and make sure, we're getting tested the whole bit, that we've all been through this whole pandemic. But I think our decision to move forward with face to face, no mask therapy, being as safe as we can be, was the best decision for all of us to help Ezra make progress and continue to grow. Knowing what we know about early childhood and early development, and especially with a child his age, because he's 5.
yeah, he'll be 6 in August, which, yeah, a year gone. I know people just say it's a year, but whenever you're already delayed, and the parent of a child that's already delayed, like it's devastating. So it could have been worse. Thank God for you and our other private therapists, truly. Because I don't know that we'd be where we are. And he has progressed over this last year. And that's thanks to in-person therapy.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out that there are some children who, depending on their communication need or whatever area, they can play catch up if they've missed. If a kiddo, I don't know. I mean,
Well,
every child. Oh, go ahead.
I'll tell you, I think that he can make up education. Like we can make up ABCs and reading and some writing stuff, but like there is a very small window for the social skills and for the developmental speech and language portion that he needs to succeed in those other areas.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. In this situation with his needs, I think that time lost is not time that's easily gotten back or can be gotten back when it's lost. Given his needs, it was the right decision for us to make sure that he didn't lose that progress, that he didn't have that missed time, that we continue. And we're very fortunate that we were able to work together and continue that together for him. I mean, his foundation is so much stronger because he didn't miss that time. And we're going to see that years down the road. The time that was not missed with him is going to matter later. It just is, and we will see it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Um, it's it's been tough, but that's actually a really great piece of, if we're going back to just why private therapy is super important, is because we've been able to message each other back and forth. Whereas, with the school, it has the communication has not been able to be as clear. And I think a lot has gotten lost in the cracks. And, frankly, they're probably overloaded. I'd give the benefit of the doubt in that regard.
I used to work in a school setting, and it's completely different. There's so many more responsibilities and extra work that you have to do outside of seeing children and outside of working with families. And I can tell you, as a therapist in the school setting, I cared just as much as I care about my kids and my families now. And I was the same quality of therapist, but I couldn't give the amount of time that I'm able to give now. I didn't have the luxury of having my parents join me in sessions. I didn't have the luxury of being able to communicate with you weekly because there was just no time. The time was not built in for me to do it. So those were all things that were out of my control, and are much of which I don't want to speak for anyone else, but for me, I have more time as a private therapist to spend with my families. I have more time to control how things look, and spend my time more focused on the child, my kiddo, and his or her family, as opposed to doing a bunch of other stuff that I'm required to do, but keeps me not focused on my child. So we have that great luxury together, and I'm so glad for that. I'm just so very grateful for that. I think that, talking specifically about Ezra and his ability to continue to make progress and not having that lost time over the pandemic, that was a big motivator for, I think, us when we decided we need to be in person. We're not going to use masks. We can't have this kiddo lose time. We can't have him lose intervention. And so that was a big decision for us, and it was the right one. I have other families where they took a break, and, I think given, or maybe we did continued with virtual, or we did whatever, and their children, that was the right decision for them and their family and their child. And also, as a specialist in communication, it may have been a situation where I'm like, I think we can. Your child is going to be okay. We're going to provide intervention in this way. And there's not going to be this huge loss that we aren't able to make up or get back or whatever. But there are some situations like ours, you, me, Ezra, Zach, and everybody else involved, that time would have been time lost. And wasn't worth the risk.
All right, and that's what we did. We weighed the risks this way, and we weighed them this way, and we decided together. And that's where, really, again, I'll thank you for just prioritizing Ezra as an individual, and also listening to us as parents, because we've known from day one that masks wouldn't be appropriate for him. And you honored that, based on our relationship together, and also knowing, and first of all, me highly verbalizing it, because I'm a parent.
I like it. I want to hear it.
Highly verbalizing that, sorry, it's as far as trying to bring it all together. Him as an individual and as his individual needs, again, because autism is so multifaceted, it's not just, the speech and language portion. There's sensory processing, and that in other ways that he's very tactile sometimes. But I kind of lost my train of thought. Maybe I'll get it back. But oh no, I know what I was going to say. As a parent, what I've expressed to you is that, like, I've been to every doctor's appointment. I've been to 98, 99% of his therapies, virtual or in person, privately. Now, I've never been to any of the ones in the public school system, but, and also I spend, I don't know, I think I've told you before, like 18 hours a day with a kid. like, I know him. And no one can negate that experience. And until he can, verbalize for himself and speak for himself, he's got me to do it.
You're his advocate. You're his
Right.
advocate. And as mothers, that's what we are for our kiddos. So we rise to the occasion. I'm glad you bring that up, Whitney, because at the end of the day, whenever, and I know you and I have talked about this a million times, but I always tell my families, as parents, your kid best. You know their ins and outs. You're with them all the time. It's your child. You know the best of the best and their strengths and their worsts of the worst, right? You know them all. I know communication. I know speech and language. So when I come to work with your kiddo and your family, I'm going to give you the strategies and teach you the tools that I know that will help him be a better communicator. But you not being involved in that would be just a detriment because you know him best. We have to work together so that he can make the most progress. And I think about just our session last week where we were working on social interaction skills and you were part of the therapy session and I'm over here and it was like what we were trying to do is we were putting furniture in different rooms of the house and it was a bunch of different things we were working on. We were working on social interactions and abstract questions and I said to Ezra, Ezra, I'm thinking of something we wash the dishes in. What could that be? What do we wash the dishes in? And he said, in the kitchen. And I said, yeah, but where do we wash them? In the kitchen. And I can't remember if that's
Yeah,
the way
well,
that
and then that's where I piped in and said,
yes.
Miss Kim, if you tell him, where do you put your plate when you're done eating? You got the answer you wanted.
Yeah. Now, how would I have ever known if you weren't present to say it that way? Because that question is meaningful to him. It's part of your guys' routine.
Integrated into our life. Yeah.
I'm not at your house. I don't know that. I'm asking him the question based on my perspective and my reality. I'm like, oh, there's dirty dishes in the sink again. We got to do dishes again, the never ending dishes. But he knows it as taking his dirty plate to it. He's not washing it. You guys are washing it. That's the routine. And so, hence, he knew that question, right? I mean, it's just those things happen between us all the time, in our sessions, I feel like with all of us. I think also Wynn is his little sister is always at the majority of our sessions too. And she does her thing and she's playing with whatever it is that she's playing with. And I think I had asked him to get the bed or something, but she had taken the mattress and the blanket. And I like moments like that where it's not scripted and it's unplanned, because if he goes to ask you for the bed for the house that we're working on and you only have part of it, that's an opportunity for him to go talk to Wynn and ask her for it, or grandpa or whoever joins us in our session.
Yep. Just being able to pivot, which especially for, again, special needs, sometimes they are very, linear and directional. And so by having to move and navigate, it's just very beneficial for him. But real quickly, I want to kind of touch on a personal note with the masks, how it's affected us.
Yes.
Really even just like navigating life with him outside of the home, because obviously it's no big deal if we're at home or homeschooling or whatever. But when it comes to him, being in person anywhere, but I'll say specifically the school, even just to get his therapies. Right now we've just recently submitted a written medical mask exemption from his physician. We turned over, or we submitted all of his medical records for his medical diagnosis to the school. And we're hoping to hear back from them about him receiving his therapies in person without a mask. Therapists can wear them if they want to. They can use whatever means, makes them feel most comfortable. But, again, we're going on a year of him not receiving all of his services, which is a decent amount of time every week. And then you add that up to a month, and then you take that times 12. And he's missing a lot that he's supposed to be getting. And the online portion just really isn't, it just didn't really work for him. There wasn't any interest. There was no positive reinforcement behind it either. And there was a lot of miscommunication within that too, of just being able to like fully hear the therapist, and they would, praise him for something that he didn't actually do, or not catch those crumbs that I was catching, because I was on the other screen with him, or I was,
In person.
yes, and then able to kind of feed that to the therapist, and then, then try to feed it to Ezra, for lack of a better word.
So Whitney, your medical exemption that you're requesting is that Ezra not wear a mask when he's in school. The therapist can wear a mask and teachers, but what you guys are just to be clear, what you're requesting is that he not wear a mask.
Right. And I'll tell you too, I would not be asking this if we were like first into the pandemic, or, last October when things were kind of hairy there. If we're in a different spot now, if I felt like we were going to be a threat to the teachers, or that they were one to us, I wouldn't be pursuing it. So I'm not negating the seriousness of it all. It's back to that risk and reward. Whereas like, okay, we're to a point where things are much better. And we also, we have more information regarding everything in terms of virus and transmission and so forth, that it's just time. And also from the beginning, the CDC and the state of Kansas had on their COVID sites that people and children with disabilities were exempt from mask wearing, specifically those with autism. And then, like I said, our physician, she fully understood, because I also want to make sure that it's clear that, okay, so Ezra's specific diagnosis is global developmental delay, autism spectrum disorder, which one finger, I need like a million fingers to really give that justification. Mild hypotonia, and then staring spells, which what the doctors at KU Med thought would be absent seizures. So we actually do have an appointment in July for neurology to really see what's going on there. But if we were to put a mask on him, we don't know, and nobody can tell me. I've asked the nurse and I've asked other physicians, if we were to put a mask on him, even, despite the speech and language delay, and despite the sensory orders, sensory problems, we don't know whether that could increase his seizures, the complexity, the frequency, duration of it. Like, we don't know. And that's, it just goes back to the fact that that's why they are exempt. That's why people like Ezra and other disabilities are exempt from the masks, because it's just not applicable for that individual, which brings me back to an IEP and the individual education plan. That should absolutely be honored, just because of who he is and his complexities.
Well, and I like you sharing all this information, because, I'm not walking in the shoes that you're walking in, right? So only you know what you're going through, and you sharing all this information to me, I'm going, okay, with my speech language hat on, I'm thinking, okay, how is the mask impacting how I'm trying to teach him communication wise? I don't want the mask because I can't reach him and be as effective with him. But that's not the only reason you're thinking he shouldn't wear a mask. I'm not thinking about it. You've got, okay, how is this going to affect his oxygen intake? And he's got absent seizures, and what's going to happen with his sensory needs? And I mean, there's just a gamut. And I appreciate hearing you as a parent, and I want you to share that with me as a therapist, because again, I know what I know as a speech pathologist, but I don't know what it's like to walk in the shoes as a mother of a child with special needs like this. And the only way that I can try to understand all of these things is to be able to communicate with you and have that good relationship. And if we can do that together, Ezra wins.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you too, back to, again, all the amount of time that I spend with him, which that's the parent that I am. Like, I've wanted to be a mom forever. And now I've got two beautiful children. My first needs extra help, and I'm going to give him all of it. I'm not negating when here, but like I'm going to get him what he needs. So, even after our full days and dinner and bath time and reading and bedtime or however, like after the kids go down, I'm staying up to educate myself further into what I can learn regarding autism. So like right now I'm currently learning about sensory processing disorder and how that could affect him. And really I'm thinking that he probably needs an evaluation for that, just, by picking up a book and learning more, because that's really all that I can do is continue to learn more to help advocate for him. I will tell you just a quick personal story because it makes me think about bedtime, which I had told you about in person last week, but I think it's important for others to hear. He just had a little bit of a meltdown, actually due to some sensory things. I was clipping his fingernails, which he hates, but he tolerates, and he always gets super upset after. And it's hard to get him to calm down. We try to explain that it's personal hygiene, so on and so forth. But anyway, so I'm lying with him in bed and he's still trying to calm down, still crying, and kind of in between sobs, he says, "Mommy, please fix me." And initially I've got like this punch to the gut where the air is knocked out of me. But then secondly, I'm like, oh, but there's some communication here, thanks to my time with you. But anyway, and I said, "How, honey? How can I fix you?" And he said, "I need you to change my batteries." I said, "Ezra, I don't think we need to change them, honey. I think we need to charge them, because I'm not here to change him." And two things here. One, thank you for all the work that you've done with us, because 2 years ago, I was crying to my best friends, telling them, all I want is a conversation with my son. And now I'm having them. And that's huge and will never not be emotional. And then two, I don't want to change him. I only want to help him and help facilitate his progress and get him to where he needs to be. And we're doing that despite all of the past year or more. We're doing that.
Yeah.
And that's thanks to our time with you in person and really understanding our individual needs as a family, and knowing that I will always be open and honest with you regarding all of these measures put in place to keep people safe. But again, I think it's just a great testament to your work, and then also to understanding the individual needs.
Thank you, Whitney. And it's not just what I do, but it's all that extra work you do outside of our speech session that makes the difference. So it really is true. Without saying cliche, we're in this together. It so is true when we're talking about making progress with our kiddos. It is therapists, families, educators, the team of people together that we have to work together to help our kiddos make progress. And that's exactly what Ezra's doing. And the fact that he shared with you, he didn't just communicate with you, "Mommy, I want a smoothie," or "Mommy, I want to watch Netflix." It's, "Mommy,
Help me.
He's sharing, and he was sharing an emotion. And how awesome for you to talk that same language with him when he said, "I need you to change my batteries." And you use that same analogy, "Honey, we just need to recharge your batteries." I mean, you are talking with him. And Whitney, that's abstract language right there, girl. There's beautiful things all the way around. And while it's hard to hear, I would assume it's hard to hear that, he's feeling down and low, and we don't want our kiddos to feel that way. The fact that he was able to communicate that and you two were able to problem solve together, beautiful thing.
Yeah, it really is. I think this is probably a good note to leave on, just because the conversations around the topic are heavy, and I think they're all warranted. And again, I'm just, for my boy, 110%. So I appreciate
As you
you
should
always,
be.
having an open mind, and not negating our experience, because it's not
yours.
been the case in every aspect of this. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Ditto.
Well, next time we'll be talking about parent involvement. So this will go very well with that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.